fellow Rotarians and guests, it's now my pleasure to be able to introduce a member of the Rotary Club of Hamilton, Glen Kinross, AO, past Rotary International President year 1997-98. Glen also was past District Governor of this district in 1973-74. He was past President of the Rotary Club of Hamilton in 1965. That makes it 50 years ago. I think that's worth a round of applause. And at our changeover a couple of weeks ago, it was the pleasure of the club and also the Rotary Heritage and History Hall Fellowship to present Glen with an award recognised as a Hall of Fame Rotarian. How about we give him a round of applause? Glen tonight has kindly offered to assist with the induction of our incoming District Governor for 2015-16, and I'd now welcome Glen to speak to that induction.
Before I commence what I have been asked to do, I would like to convey greetings from Clem to everyone in attendance at this meeting and to those of us among us who remember him. I think the last time Clem attended a district changeover was when Mike Gregory was the governor. Clem is a member of the Rotary Club of Nambour, and sadly there's no one here tonight. Served as the district governor in 65-66 and was president of Rotary International in 1978-79. I spoke to Clem last night and told him the changeover was on tonight. He is now 95 years old, who with Firth live in a gated community at Home Island. He is quite well, very mentally sharp, but today walks with a cane. So Clem sends his greetings to all of us tonight. Chairman Clyde, District Governor George, District Governor-elect John, Past Director John, Governor nominee John, all Johns, governors, past governors, Rotarians and guests. It's an honour for me tonight to be asked by John to induct him into the office of Governor, District 9600, the district's highest office. Before doing so, I'm going to tell you a little about John's Rotary and community involvement. He joined the Rotary Club of Hamilton in June 1991. He was proposed by Bob Gokes, who was another talented and quite remarkable Rotarian. I remember John's induction by President Cliff Allnut very well. A few months later, the club had past District Governor Alan Mayle, the founder of the Shaftesbury Centre, as our guest speaker, to tell us about the Shaftesbury campus at Burtongarry. At that meeting, John volunteered to provide pro bono advice to Alan about drainage at the campus. I knew then the club had a great member in the making, and how true that has been. John has been a loyal and valuable member of the Rotary Club of Hamilton. In his 24 years of membership, he has served on the club board 18 times. Twice as club service director, 7 times as club secretary, 3 times as vocational service director, youth service officer, Rotary Foundation director, twice as club president in 1996-97 and 2011-12, and twice as the immediate past president. The second time John served the club as president was in 2011-2012. Times were tough in the club in those days and no one wanted to serve as the club president. It was John who stepped up to the plate, and the year 2011-12 was a very good one. In his 1996-97 year as president, the club was awarded a presidential citation by Rotary International President Louis Gier The club was in the top few clubs in District Governor Brian Doyle's Premier Club Award. 10 new members were inducted during the year. Following his presidency in 2011-12, he served as an Assistant District Governor for 2 years. John has very fond memories of 2 highlights that occurred during his 1996-97 presidency. The Israeli ambassador to Australia, Mr. S. Moyle, a Rotarian, and his wife came as visitors to our club one night with only 3 or 4 hours' notice. John arranged a ring around to members and managed to boost the numbers, and a large entourage of security people accompanied the ambassador. He agreed to be the guest speaker, and Barbara entertained his wife at the head table. John and Barbara, with Mark Pratt and his wife, had dinner also at the Hilton Hotel with a visiting group of Rotarians from a district in Japan. 2 highlights from John's 96-97 year. John has done many worthy things outside his club. He was a co-organiser of a multi-venue car parking for the opening of the 2nd Gateway Bridge when Hamilton was part of the city cluster. John was a member of the Rotary Arts Spectacular Committee for 4 years. For 3 years, John served as sponsorship coordinator and 1 year as chairman. The Arts Spectacular is a joint project of the Rotary clubs of Brisbane High Rise, Hamilton and Stones Corner in District 9630. Funds raised during the sponsorship period that John saw over in those 4 years ranged from $60,000 a year to $112,000. In 1996, John was invited by a minister of the state government to be the chair of the council of the Brisbane Institute of TAFE Business Board. John did this for 6 years on a voluntary basis. It was all about institute governance matters, assisting with interviews of senior staff, attending graduation ceremonies, and reporting to the minister of the day on a regular basis. At the end of the 6-year period, John was asked to be on a steering committee to merge the Brisbane Institute with the North Point Institute of TAFE. Each had an annual budget of $35 million. John was awarded a Paul Harris Fellowship by Club President Arthur O'Shea for this work. John is the 3rd member of the Rotary Club of Hamilton to be chosen to serve as District Governor. For John, it is an honour attributable to his long years of service and untiring commitment and ceaseless enthusiasm for the cause and purpose of Rotary in our club and our district. It's a very enviable record of commitment. John, you are among my all-time Hamilton Rotarians who have done the work of Rotary without thought of field reward or praise. It's not what we give, but what we share, for the gift without the giver is bare. John, you have given much. John, I have watched you in membership for 24 years, so I know the past. Knowing the past, it's easy for me to predict the future. I can foresee District 9600 is going to be in good, hard-working hands during 2015-16. District 9600 can be assured that the goodwill and leadership you display will be infectious. With Barbara, who is a personality in her own right, at your side, together with all the clubs in the district, I am sure the service of this district will surely be a gift to the world. John, I invite you to come to the stage now with your wife Barbara and District Governor George. my fellow Rotarians and guests, it's my pleasure to formally induct John into the office of District Governor for the year 2015-16. And in doing so, I'm going to take the collar of office from Governor George, the place around John's neck. I have now placed on John's shoulders the collar of office. It is inscribed with the names of those who have served before him. May their example weigh heavily upon John's leadership. John and Barbara, you are now District 9600 Governor and First Lady. Congratulations. Welcome.
Thank you, Glen, for those kind words. I'm not sure that I deserve them, but thank you very much. Very kind of you. George Grant earlier tonight made a great speech about his year of achievement, and a great year it was. I can't talk like that, so my speech will probably be a whole lot of motherhood statements. But anyway, maybe this time next year I'll have something else to say. Past President, past Rotary International President Glen Kinross, past Rotary International Director John Lawrence and Janet, past District Governors, fellow Rotarians, Rotaractors and friends, I hope you've enjoyed this changeover dinner and the opportunity to meet old friends and new. It's particularly pleasing to welcome several Rotaractors from Brisbane CBD Club and the Provisional River City Club. I wish to start by thanking a number of people involved in the journey so far. Firstly, I congratulate George and Mary for the great leadership they've given us in this Rotary year. George set out to have a year that he enjoyed and in which he could make a difference in the world. He has achieved all of that with the help of Mary. The district team has enjoyed the year and George has achieved much, a summary of which we've heard about tonight. Because George spent 8 years in Papua New Guinea in 2 tours of duty, each of 4 years as a young bank manager, he already had an affinity with the people and a knowledge of the country. He had a passion to help them. Possibly the greatest achievement will be the difference that will be made to the people of Papua New Guinea who will benefit from the vaccine to be made available to fight cervical cancer. It was George's passion not only to raise funds for this vaccination process, but also to help the people of the islands in as many ways as possible. In doing this, he never neglected any of the Rotary clubs of South East Queensland. I thank all of the district board members and the district leadership team for their support throughout the year. The DGE year has been busy with the usual full-on training programs, and the help of all district leaders, particularly those who presented at the training events, is much appreciated. There are too many to name individually. However, in particular, I thank District Trainer Tarikwo, who's down there, for her help in the presentation and staging of the various training events. I also thank Carolyn Kruger for her tireless efforts in the assembly and general preparation for printing of the district directory, and for her help with other similar tasks. As I said, or maybe implied above, many people contributed to helping me personally, and many others contributed to the running of the district programs generally, including all of our wonderful youth programs, foundation seminars, Peace Scholar seminars, and so on. Although I've been a member of a Rotary Club for many years, as Glen explained, I am relatively new in the district arena. I therefore thought I would give you background information about my Rotary life. My first encounter with Rotary was in the 1980s, where on one hand I had a colleague who was always telling me how wonderful Rotary was, but the trouble is he was in the Rotary Club of Beenleigh, which was a long way from where I was working and from where I lived, so I never did get to go there. And then a little bit later in the 80s, I was invited to visit the Rotary Club of Brisbane Metropolitan at Spring Hill. Unfortunately, that club doesn't exist anymore. I went a couple of times, and also once as a guest speaker, but I wasn't ready for Rotary then, for some reason I can't explain. And frankly, I thought that some of the meeting rituals were a bit odd. The ringing of the bells, the toasting everyone, and toasting this, toasting that, the little banners on the table. There were all sorts of things that I thought were strange. Strangely, however, when I finally joined Rotary a few short years later, I actually became fond of those very same sort of rituals. And in fact, I'm sorry that some of them are disappearing as we move through our ever-changing world. As Glen said before, I was invited to the Rotary Club of Hamilton by Bob Gokes, a Rotarian who had been a member of Hamilton Club for quite a few years, and before that had been a member of Rotary clubs in Cairns and other regional towns in Queensland over several decades. Excuse me. Bob requested, Bob was a very keen Rotarian and a great Rotarian, as Glen said. Bob requested that I meet with him for an hour or two every Monday morning for a few weeks so that he could tell me all about Rotary. I learned all the basics, including details of the avenues of service, the object of Rotary, the four-way test and service above self and so on. In those days, we used to have Rotary quizzes in our club on fellowship nights or something like that. And there were always a series of questions from the manual of procedure. It was quite daunting for one who was brought up in total to fear failure. You know, I really did fear those quizzes because I used to do my homework and read the manual of procedure religiously. In addition to all of this, Glen Kinross gave me some old manuals of procedure, for past recent years that he no longer needed, and they were, still probably 90% relevant anyway. And as well as that, some other Rotary books for bedtime reading. So for a while there, I think I knew the manual of procedure off by heart, or almost anyway. And of course, Glen has been a great mentor for me and for many others in the club over many years, and I thank him for that. After 1 year, I was on the board as club service director for 2 years, and then secretary for 2 years, and then president. Those 4 years leading up to be president gave me some of the best training one could ever have in the role of club president. And I would recommend that to anyone. When you join a Rotary club, to all the Rotaractors, when you finally join, you'll already know a bit about it by then anyway, but try and be a secretary first before you become president, because it really is a good learning experience. The club at that time, and for many years afterwards, had over 50 members. In fact, it wasn't until relatively recent years that numbers dropped a bit, but then they've come back up again in recent times. So with lectures from Bob Gokes, mentoring by Glen, and the lead up to the presidency, I considered that I had a pretty good Rotary education and training. However, our learning about Rotary is never complete, and even after the extensive training on the journey to this role, I certainly still don't know it all, that's for sure. We've been told by the incoming Rotary International President, Ravi Ravindran, to use our skills, experience and expertise work for Rotary in the coming year to make a difference in the world. And on several occasions I heard Ravi tell us we've only got 366 days in which to get out there and make a difference. We all, and that's because it's a leap year, of course, which he points out. We've got that one extra day. We all know that the eradication of polio will be Rotary's greatest gift to the world and, of course, to the children of the world. The construction of the low-cost shelters, a project initiated by Glen Kinross, is another great gift to the world. I have believed for some time that the provision of clean water and sanitation should be the next major task to be taken on by Rotary once the world is polio-free. Rotary is already doing much about this. The Water and Sanitation Action Group, known as WASRAG, was founded 8 years ago to address some of these problems. But a campaign like Polio Plus campaign is needed to put a tap and toilet in every house in the world. In the developed nations of the world, we take for granted that we can turn on a tap and get clean drinking water. We can even get hot water. We have water closets which are 5 feet by 3'6" minimum size, with flushing toilets and constant ventilation, all required by council regulations. I know that because my early life training was in water and sewerage. But in many parts of the world, people do not have access to clean water or sanitation. President Ravi Ravindran has endorsed Rotary Action Groups as a significant resource for Rotary programs. And remember, I said this one is called the Water and Sanitation Rotary Action Group. And Ravi has, as I say, endorsed it as a significant resource for Rotary programs. His theme, to be a gift to the world, motivates us to seek new goals and greater achievements, and by elevating water and sanitation to a level like Polio Plus, we have a truly great goal. It is such a huge goal that we will be relying on the next generation of Rotarians, for example the Rotaractors here tonight, to finally achieve the goal way beyond this year. You know, it's something we can't do overnight, but it really, to my mind, to give clean water to the world is really an honourable goal, but it will take many years to do it. In the year ahead, I will promote the continuing support of the Rotary Foundation and the End Polio Now campaign, as these are essential for the benefit of the international community and the great work of Rotary generally. I will also encourage Rotary clubs to consider contributing through fundraising and volunteering to local humanitarian projects such as Hummingbird House. This children's hospice and respite facility is desperately needed to assist the 3,700 families in Queensland with terminally ill children. Barbara will also promote Hummingbird House and in particular a specific part of it for her partner's project. I have always felt great admiration for the work of Australian Rotary Health and other Rotary programs such as RORCS and ROMAC. I should spell it out. RORCS is Rotary Australia World Community Service, which is behind, as Gabriel mentioned before, donations in kind, DIK. It's part of the RORCS program. And ROMAC, of course, is Rotary Oceania Medical Aid for Children. These are Australian Rotary programs and are certainly worth supporting. And I know that's a lot to say, well, support the foundation, support Hummingbird House, support ROMAC, support RORCS and all. But as I say to everyone, there's a lot of love out there and you've just got to spread it around, haven't you? And of course there are the many other programs by Rotary, not forgetting our youth programs, the finest youth programs in the world. There is so much to do and so little time, but with the many people each contributing in a small way, we can achieve many things. I have been inspired by the words of President Ravi Ravindran. Set the goals and now look towards the district leadership and the Rotary clubs of the district to help achieve those goals, which are interwoven, of course, with Rotary International Strategic Plan, the district plan and the goals of individual clubs. Let us all work together to achieve our goals. Thank you for your attention. I was reprimanded at the conference this year because when I introduced the team, the district team, the team leaders, assistant governors and so coordinators and chairs and so on. I didn't include Barbara in that, and I was severely reprimanded. So I'd better let her have a say now. Thank you.
As he well should have. But look, it's a great honour for me to stand here next to John. I've always been, he's always been my hero. I've been a great admirer of all the things that he's done, and you don't know half. He's a great man and a very humble man, as most of you will know. And I know that he will put his absolute utmost into his Rotary projects, into his job as District Governor. I know I'll be in trouble, probably quite regularly, but I really don't care because he's my hero and I can step on his toes whenever I like. But thank you everyone for all your support. When we've started our changeovers, and I felt so welcomed by the clubs, not only with John but with me too. And I will try very hard to behave myself and be a good girl and eat everything on my plate. I just want to say thank you, and particularly to Gabriel and Paul, who are here tonight from Hummingbird House. Well, they're not from Hummingbird House yet, but I always say they own Hummingbird House at this stage. But John and I, those of you who know the story, John and I were so inspired by this young couple who had decided to do such a wonderful project in Brisbane for those little children who are terminally ill. And I don't think we can imagine what it must be like to lose a little child, or even a little bit older child. We all can imagine what it's like. And for them to have the vision to make it so comfortable for those families to say goodbye, John and I were just blown away. And we want you to help us too. Thank you.